I'm Jenny Ketchum-Crooks. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm the owner and a psychotherapist at the West Coast Anxiety Clinic. I just had the most brilliant session with a client, and it wasn't me being brilliant, although my client said something that struck such a personal nerve in me, right? And so we were talking about how difficult it is to start something new, especially when you know where you want to go with it. Like this vlog, for example, I want it to be professional. I want it to be sexy. I want it to be perfect. What does perfect even mean, though? You know, as someone who struggles with perfectionism, and I think it could be helpful to talk about perfectionism. Even that, I'm like, fuck, go back, re-record. We're just gonna roll with it. Even talking about perfectionism lights up all of my perfectionism, right? Like, I have been falling into this trap where I'm making a script and I'm trying to read the script because I want it to look good and I want it to look professional and I want it to look fucking perfect. And the truth is that like, I really have no idea what I'm doing here, and I'm trying to figure it out as I go along. And my sense is that figuring it out will make something really interesting and have this sort of like creative flow to it. But the creative flow process involves a lot of imperfection, which is kind of complicated. So what does perfect mean to me? I don't know, maybe I should answer that first. What I can say without a shadow of a doubt is that my perfectionism always focuses on my values. And my values often reflect my perfectionism. There's a psychologist, Kelly Wilson, who talks about how our values and our vulnerabilities are poured from the same vessel. And I see this. I see this in my perfectionism. What does perfect mean to me? Perfect has different meanings in different contexts for me. So let's start with the most easy and obvious thing. What would be a perfect body for me to be living in? Yeah, we love that one. We've been trying to answer this question since we were like, I don't know, 12 years old. The perfect body would have well-defined arms, would have a well-defined waist and abs, and not like washboard. Like, I'm not looking for that, but I'm looking for some like lines on the side, right? Something that you can see in like flat is perfect. And then also fitting into that perfect criteria is the literally the absence of the C-section scar that is now at my pubic hairline. That wasn't there before, and now it is there because I had 2 humans removed from my abdomen. So there is a scar. So already when it comes to perfect body, I can't do it simply because I can't get rid of this scar. And I have actually fallen into, because the first time I had the scar, I massaged it and I tried to make it so it didn't get stuck, or I don't know, whatever elaborate scheme for scar reduction. I had this elaborate scheme and strategy for scar reduction that I concocted in my head. And I did that, and I didn't do it as much the second time around, but also I had it done by a different doctor, and I was 4 years older. And so my body is literally different than it was, but none of that fucking matters to this when I am stuck in perfect body mode. Which is just to say that perfect body mode is clearly something that I have been working on and working through for as long as I have been a woman and even been becoming a woman. Maybe I'll put it down at some point. I'm getting a little bit nicer about how I show up for myself in perfect body mode, which is great. And I'll do another one of these specifically on perfect body mode and body image. But this is really focused on perfectionism. That's perfectionism right there, where you're like, ooh, I'm going too far into body. Okay, so that's what perfect body equals in my head. Oh, and then like calves are different. We don't know how, but they're different. They fit in boots better. That is part of the operationalizing of perfect body for me. Because now, like, they're bigger, they don't fit great in boots. That's what it is. What else does perfect mean? Oh, perfect means I don't make mistakes. I just spit. We love the idea of not making mistakes. Me just spitting, that, like, I laughed. Oh God, it's really uncomfortable because I know now that I'm going to leave that in, and I'm pretty, yeah, that's uncomfortable. So we don't make mistakes, and that is both in like how we present ourselves and also in the decisions that we make at work and the things that we put online. And not making mistakes is one of the things that drove me away from playing the piano. So every time I play the piano, I am like pressing into this, like, okay, we're going to make mistakes, Jenny, and we're just going to continue doing the thing even though we're making mistakes. So that's a thing I'm working on. But that's also a place where perfectionism shows up. And interestingly, it doesn't show up as other people who have perfectionism, how their idea of mistakes, right? Like for some people, it looks like writing the same thing over and over again. For some people, it's like, okay, don't make mistakes in what I'm reading and don't forget what I read and read it perfectly. So it looks so different for so many people. What else fits into my perfectionism thing? Being a perfect mom, that for sure. Yeah, that's present for sure. I have this idea of the kind of mom that I should be and like the tone of my voice and how it should sound. And when I don't hit it, I'm deeply cringy. And then Elsie the other day asked me, she asked me if I was famous. And like, we're getting to the point where, like that, I don't know, that's a conversation. And like, no is the answer. Like, no, categorically, qualitatively, no. And yet, there is a history of public facing behavior that might be categorized as fame in a very specific I'm trying to like couch it in all of these terms that really maintain this image of being a perfect parent and like a perfect mom who, you know, didn't used to like, I don't know, suck dick for a living. So that's not fun. And it's something that I will face and am trying to figure out how to face, and we'll probably have lots of conversation. Point to him over there. My husband lives across the hall. No. He works across the hall. That's what that actually is. Yeah, so we'll talk about how to talk about that because we parent together. Ugh, my heart is racing right now, even thinking about that. Fuck. And we're not there yet, Jenny. Like we don't have to have that conversation today, thankfully. But we will. Okay. What else is perfect? Well, not this vlog. This vlog is certainly not turning out perfectly, so that's just great. Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions about perfectionism. And I think what's so tricky for me personally about perfectionism is that, and I think this is tricky for a lot of people who suffer with this, is that it is reinforced in all of these different ways, right? Like, I benefit by being a perfectionist to a certain extent. There is a certain extent where it becomes like painful and like there is suffering. But before that, I really do benefit, and it's kind of great, right? Like the drive to have a perfect body is something that has historically had me living in a very, very fit body. I've been doing a lot of work to reorient to something else, something that's more sustainable, because perfectionism isn't sustainable when the body type is informed by social narratives about what women should live in, and I am in a body that is aging, even though we're trying to prevent a little bit of that with some botulism to the face. Oh, even saying that feels imperfect. But yeah, this video is not perfect. Okay, good to know. What am I even doing? You're making a video because you made a commitment to do a thing. So a big part of my perfectionism shows up in maybe I should just talk about this like a normal human and not try to explain it in all these different ways. I don't know if I actually have the capacity to do that. So let's give it a go and see what happens. So I used to live this very public facing life, right? Like not necessarily emotionally or like at an intimate level. People didn't really know me very well, and I didn't really know myself very well. I had this really like perfect veneer of like party girl enjoying herself, and I was to a certain extent, but there was a lot that got missed. But it was very public facing, and it was very open, and going into rehab, that was also very public facing and very open, and they're sort of like open to this idea of like sharing intimately my inner world and not just like my body, which is this really interesting transition in my life. And then I started the blog, Becoming Jenny, and that was such a strategic move to help me commit to leaving the industry, right? Like I had this really clear narrative that if people just knew how much I hurt inside, then they wouldn't want me to go back to porn, and I would have the support to stay out of porn. And that it was true. It was true. I get feedback to this day from people saying like, I thought you were great. I used to love your videos. Now that I know you, I'm not interested in it. And like, I'm so glad that you left and you're doing something different. You're doing so great. So like there was this like transition of being public facing that was like just the outside was for public consumption. Then I started sharing my insides for like public consumption, and like how to be intimate and vulnerable in this like really open and like public space. And then I chose a profession where you're only supposed to be open and like public about your life if it serves the client. And so it was such a shift in thinking, and I really made a lot of effort to shut down a lot of the public facing stuff that I did. So I stopped writing the blog. I mean, I also wanted to like keep some things just for myself, right? Like the relationship with my husband, I really wanted to like curate that and like nourish that and have that grow in this like organic, safe place that wasn't, subject to a comments section. And so I shut it down. And so I spent all of my educational life, I have worked not to share my intimate life. And even in the context of working with clients, I'm very specific about the kind of information that I share about myself with clients. One, it's their time, we're talking about them. Like, it's your time, we're talking about you, and we're not talking about my shit, right? Like, and if there's something that is meaningful for me to share about my shit, I'm more than willing to share it in as much as it is helpful, right? But I'm very careful not to have my shit become the center of a session. And so when I decided to release the book, there was this moment where it was like, okay, well, am I just trying to do this as this like professional, this like mental health professional who is just selling a book? Or like, is this the part of my life where I can start opening up and sharing the things that I'm either struggling with or working on or like really moved by? Like, is now the time where I can do that in a space that is beneficial to a larger number of people? And it's funny, I just had this errant thought that was like, did you even press record? Thank you, Brenda. Thank you for checking on me. I had this thought that was like, well, maybe you can start making videos. And like, I did the blog once. I think we're just in a different time now. I'm hesitant to make a vlog because, one, I think the word vlog is ridiculous. And that is, yeah, I have all of these really like tightly held beliefs about how stupid that word is. So I'm going to let that go. And then also, I really don't like the idea of being a social media influencer because that to me sounds ridiculous. But I also recognize that like I have the ability and the platform to help people who are suffering in ways that I am suffering, or with things that I have overcome, or with things that I help people overcome. And so like, I don't know, maybe Jenny, you're not just some social media influencer. Like, what does that even mean? Anyway, so I clearly have some like shit I need to work through when it comes to that word and that phrase as well, that title. I'll do another thing on that on a different day. But it all wraps into that perfectionism, right? Like I want to do it well. I want to do it perfectly. I want to satisfy the mental health industry and to be taken seriously by them. But also, I don't want to put any of my clients in jeopardy by revealing too much about myself. And I don't want to put my family in jeopardy because, and it turns into like that Barbie dialogue, right? Where it's like, you got to do this and you got to do this, but you can't do this and you can't do this. It's like I'm walking this super fucking fine line all the time, this tightrope. And like, it's really hard. It's like really hard. I don't know. So this is it. So I had put together this like little cheeky, and I'll post it on my YouTube channel, which also I say that out loud and I'm fucking cringing. I will post it on my YouTube channel, which I hope you subscribe to. I'm not going to cut that out either, Jenny. I will post it on my YouTube channel, and I had made this little short as like an introduction, right? As like just trying to get started, just try to do this. And I realized that it's like, I got feedback from the person who inspired it. And they were very indirect. They were so skillful in how they gave feedback. And I think that what I gathered from their feedback and what I know I want for this space and for anything that I publish online is to be able to demonstrate this raw vulnerability, and to not have it have to be so fucking curated and like filtered. And like, even right now, I'm like, am I shiny? What do I look like? I don't want it to be so perfect, because I don't want, like, if my daughters ever stumble upon this, I don't want them to only see their mom through a public lens as this like perfect person. And like the other day, Elsie was like, have you ever done anything wrong or naughty, Mom? And I was like, how much time you got, kid? You know, like, we could fucking really get into it. And even in that, like, I'm sharing like age appropriate things. She's 7. Like, one time Mommy dipped out and went to the neighbor's house to jump on their trampoline without telling her mommy and daddy. And Elsie's like, oh my God, you're insane. Or like, one time Mommy didn't want to eat her vegetables. And when her mommy and daddy left her at the table because she was just pushing vegetables around, I went over to the garbage can, the trash compactor, and I lifted stuff and I put all the vegetables under there and I put the trash back down and then I turned on the trash compactor, which like dead giveaway, you know what I mean? But Elsie's like, oh, Mom, that's really bad. You lied and you did, and so I don't know. I'm trying to give her these opportunities to see that I am not perfect, and it takes a lot of intention. And I notice my own perfectionism creeping into the ways that I'm showing her that I'm not perfect. I don't know. Anyway, which is just to say that like I'm making a thing. I hope you like it. If you have something like helpful or constructive, or if this resonates with you, please say something in the comments. I'm also trying to build a community here that is like supportive and loving and kind, and I want you to be a part of it. So I don't know what to do from here. I don't know how to close this out. How do you close out a perfectly imperfect vlog?
Hey